So today's session is going to be about Watson's services that we've just published on Bluemix. And on October 8th, Watson was back in the headlines making some big announcements about expanding the partner ecosystem to scale. What had been a closed environment is now being open. We're putting more partners in to leverage IBM skills and technology to change their businesses and their industry. And what we'd like to do today, Swami and I will walk you through what's available for any developer with a Bluemix.net account. We'll walk through some of the concepts around what is Watson cognitive computing, what is a cloud computing, and our platform as a service, Bluemix. I'm hoping that what we come out with is everybody has an understanding of, one, what are we offering, what does this mean, and we're going to show a demonstration to give you some ideas about where you could take this in your industry. So, thinking about Watson and what it means, the Watson Developer Cloud is a set of new services that have become available that is not what you would typically think about when we've heard about the Watson story of a question and answer system that was seen on Jeopardy. We've shown some improvements in those services that they're going to be exposed, and we're going to get into details about those. And we're also exposing some foundational services that are available in Watson. So what we have is 7 services and a software development kit that's going to be available for developers. We'll go into the details about those, but before we get there, I do want to start with, what are we talking about when we say Watson, and what are we talking about with Bluemix? And in order for us to do that, I think we should start with the 4 mega trends that are really out there. And I think anybody that's been to a tech conference recently has probably seen some type of slide like this talking about the mobile, social, and analytics and cloud trends that are available. If you think about mobile today, there are something like 7.7 billion devices on the planet. That's one for every man, woman, and child. We're pretty close to having one for every pet as well. And the way that we're consuming our data is more and more lending itself towards mobile. It's lending itself to being in the cloud, available in different devices, whether it's on my machine or through an iPad or through a BlackBerry or whatever those devices are. And we need to be able to cater to that way that the users are consuming them. And we think about the social that continues to evolve in business. It's about how do we get value from collective knowledge. How do we do that personally as well as professionally? How do we share those experiences, that knowledge, the data? The cloud represents that shift in access to our data and applications as well, right? And so where we see things as simple as how do I share my gaming data across a PlayStation network or sync my Candy Crush games across my iPad or my mobile phone, these things are becoming so much more pervasive that we need to have an infrastructure that supports it. And for us at IBM, and for the platform as a service that is Bluemix, it's about surfacing middleware services. And this as-a-service paradigm that we look at in the cloud is going to change how IT delivers. So foundationally, we think of these as-a-service things as starting with infrastructure as a service, so down to bare metal, virtual machines with OS available, traveling up to platform as a service where we've exposed a la carte middleware services. Think of things like Twilio and these Watson services, database access, things like that, and allow people to leverage those APIs simply, not worry about the infrastructure, worry just about their usage, and it gives them the agility and flexibility to start delivering on their ideas very quickly without having to worry about how do I stand up more servers or do some complex thing. And then at the top is then software as a service, delivering those applications from the cloud to mobile device or your computer or wherever those things want to live. And so when we think about Bluemix, then sitting right there in the middle as a platform as a service, we're running over 60 different IBM and third-party services and boilerplates, and for us, boilerplates are preconceived templates of different services. So a mobile application service that already starts with a database. It starts with some push services. It starts with services to get the device up and running. We also have many different runtimes, all these based on an open source, open standards community called Cloud Foundry. For us, it's important that we bring that in. We're not focused on proprietary standards. We want to be engaged with the developers and allow them the flexibility to bring in whatever build pack, whatever type of language that they prefer, whether that's Java or Ruby on Rails and so on. And so Bluemix in and of itself lets users run apps in the language they want. They can design for mobile. They can design for their browser, however they want to. It allows them to think about scalability. We offer free services like our auto scaling that allow them to just bind that service to their application and let our middleware take care of the work for you. We have things in there for DevOps, so allowing you to do continuous delivery, working between teams. We have a number of analytics tools like Blue Acceleration, allow you to do analytics on the fly, which was one of our past webinars. We showed how to do that in a mobile application. We have Internet of Things that are coming out, and so on and so forth. As you can, so we're building a robust platform, allows developers to really focus on the idea they want, and then go deliver it in the language that they want, in the environment they want, and not have to think about the complexities of standing these servers up, negotiating with your hardware team, or spending the time waiting on servers to show up. So when we think about the other element of this whole conversation and the concepts we're introducing, we're talking about Watson and cognitive computing. And so I want to talk about the Watson journey a little bit, and so we can orient ourselves on when we say cognitive computing at IBM, what do we mean by that? What's different about Watson? And so what most people saw, a lot of people saw on Jeopardy in 2011 was a system that competed against Brad Rutter and Ken Jennings. And it won, right? And so what it was able to prove at that time was that we could take something really complicated on a game show, which is understanding natural language, puns, colloquialisms, riddles, and within a 3-second span answer a question against some of the greatest Jeopardy players that ever existed. And it was a humongous challenge for us. What we did, though, between that time, after 2011, is try to figure out, where do we put this technology to make an impact? And we chose, the simplest thing in the world. Let's go try to focus on how do we help solve the challenge of cancer. So we went to MD Anderson and some other partners, and we started putting together a solution that helps advise doctors on how to solve, cancer. How do we prescribe the right chemotherapy for individuals? And then from there, in 2013, we introduced our first official product from Watson called the Watson Engagement Advisor, which we've been putting into consumer support centers, focused at helping agents as well as their end users solve their challenges, answer questions. And we also managed to scale that Jeopardy system down by 90%. So we went from 2,880 cores, 16 terabytes of RAM. We're able to run these things on an instance in a rack. And so we're 240% faster. We're able to support thousands of users in 2013. We're inputting, at a clip of about 4 times in terms of the input, and we're able to take on new domains and start to train Watson on those things. And now in 2014, we've announced our cognitive ecosystem. It's a group of partners building applications to disrupt their industry. It is about being able to support millions of users. It's open to Bluemix users to go out and play and start thinking about cognitive applications for them. We're able to support different industries now like travel and retail. So it's about continuing to expand the breadth of where Watson can start to deliver. And if you think about, so when we say Watson and we say cognitive computing, where is that different from what people have experienced today? So in 1890, they determined it was going to take about 13 years to complete the census. A problem when you have to do one every 10 years. So we started inventing, and what we came up with was tabulation systems, an ability to count accurately, and those lasted for about 50 years. And in the late 40s, early 50s, we determined that we built RAM, memory, an ability to take instruction sets and hold them in memory, and that created the programmable computer era. So we were able to start having a refined set of instructions to give the computer rules to base its analysis on, and then go. Well, that's been about 60 years, right? And since then, we've done a lot. We've gone a long way with programmable systems. The challenge with a programmable system is that all the rules have to be accounted for. X plus Y equals Z, if Y then Z, so on and so forth, right? And so if we're counting on building all of the rules into every system, we're going to run into some hurdles, right? It becomes exponentially complex. If you think about the problem that a doctor looks at, right? If I'm being treated for something, it's not about just the symptoms I have, but it's about the symptoms I don't have. And so that becomes exponentially complex when a doctor is trying to use his knowledge and think about what is this that I'm treating in the presence of this symptom but the lack of these symptoms. And so trying to program a system to do that is very challenging, costly, and potentially impossible. And so when we get to the cognitive era, the thing that Watson introduced to us, it's an ability to not base the system on rules, but have a machine that learns in much the same way that a human does, by being able to answer with a confidence level, a hypothesis about what it is it's seeing. So when we ask or query the system in Watson, it's going to base its answer on the domain knowledge it has and the information it's been taught, and it will present to you a confidence level and a hypothesis. So it actually comes back with multiple answers, and we surface the most confident one. And that's the same way that we talk. So if we ask somebody a question and they say, I'm not sure, I think it's this, right? That's the same type of mechanism that Watson functions under. So the way that we see this working out for us in humans is it's about creating machines that partner with us, right? They enhance our ability to make good decisions. So one of the things we're going to see today is user modeling, the ability to think about a personality portrait from someone's social and digital footprint. And so you can think about the way that an HR professional may want to use a computer to help make a better decision based on what's there. It helps them strengthen decision-making based on not only their knowledge, but the knowledge of a system that can read and do much more than they can in terms of consuming the information that's out there. There's the ability to scale that expertise across your organization. Think about being able to impart the knowledge of your best salesperson or your best HR professional or your best travel agent or whomever into the system so that others can then leverage that expertise as they handle your consumers. And the last thing is just accelerating. So, the big thing on the bottom was big data and analytics and our mega trends, right? We cannot consume the amount of information that's out there today. 90% of it's created in the last 2 years. 80% of it is in some unstructured form, meaning it's in text or in videos or in things that aren't nice and neat for computers to understand, like tables. And so when you have a system like Watson that's able to consume all that information for you and then help you accelerate your expertise by being an expert advisor, that's where we see Watson really helping to generate this ability to enhance, scale, and accelerate all of our expertise across many different domains. And so what we're excited to talk about as we go through this is that we will see a little bit deep dive into each of these services and what they mean.